Do you ever look at your bank account at the end of the month and just wonder where all your money went? You're making a decent income, you're not out buying yachts, but the numbers just don't seem to add up. It feels like your money is just vanishing. Now, what if I told you that this is the most common feeling I see with people's finances, and it happens in a world designed to entice you to spend? Every time you tap to pay, order takeout, or click buy now, you're not just making a transaction. You're giving your brain a little hit of a chemical that can be highly addictive. Today, we're going to break down how many modern companies have turned your brain's reward system into their greatest financial asset. And more importantly, what are some practical steps to take that can actually make a difference? And as always, we'll end with a biblical frame. When I sit down with a new client, we start with the basics you'd expect: income, debts, and expenses. People almost always have a pretty good handle on the first two. They know their income, and it's easy enough to see what the net versus gross is, and they typically know their mortgage payments and car payments if they have them. Then comes the question that trips nearly everyone up. Aside from your mortgage and things like insurance premiums, how much do you spend every month? By and large, at all income levels, across industries, backgrounds, and situations, people underestimate how much they spend. Mostly because people do not realize how much of their money goes out the window from mindless spending. But let's be honest, we've all been there. You have a stressful day, and the first thing you think of, at least the first thing I think of, is ordering my favorite meal, which is sushi. I'm not even that hungry, but the thought of it just feels good. Or you're bored, doom scrolling on your phone for the millionth time, and an ad pops up for a new outfit that would be perfect for you. But it's a flash sale, a clock is ticking, and before you know it, you've punched in your card details and bought something in an instant without thinking. During the purchase itself, there's this rush of excitement, but when the package shows up on the doorstep, that feeling is long gone. A lot of times you even end up with the dreaded buyer's remorse. A lot of how we talk about money and view spending would have you think that this trap of doom scrolling and overspending is simply a matter of willpower. But the general public, we're all becoming a lot more aware of how companies have spent millions of dollars and countless man hours creating and perfecting systems designed to draw you in and keep you buying. A company only cares about a consumer in so much as the consumer keeps spending. So that's what they want from you. They've tapped into the reality that every purchase we make is a neurological event. It's a program running in our brains, and it can absolutely be influenced. But people discuss financial decisions as if they are strictly logical: income, expenses, savings, investing. But the truth is, most of our spending is emotional first and logical second. You're not buying a product, you're buying a feeling or a promise of what that product is going to do for you or improve your life. The problem is that the feeling is temporary, the promise is typically fleeting, and it quietly leads people away from their real financial goals. So what's actually going on in your head and in mine? And it revolves around dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in our brains that act as the brain's reward and motivation center. Your brain releases it when you achieve a goal or when you experience pleasure. And that's exactly what spending does. It triggers the brain's reward center. And I actually learned recently that just thinking about a purchase increases dopamine levels before an item is even bought. Neuroscientists have seen that the biggest spike of dopamine doesn't actually happen when you get the thing that you want. It peaks in the moments leading up to it. It's the thrill of the hunt. That feeling you get while scrolling and adding items to your cart is often more powerful than the feeling of actually getting it, hence that buyer's remorse. This creates a dopamine loop: a trigger, a behavior, and a reward. And for whatever reason, the buyer's remorse after the fact doesn't interrupt the loop like I really wish that it would. And our modern world is a minefield of triggers for this, specifically designed to give us that dopamine hit and keep us buying. I think we're all more aware of how the algorithms work as time goes on. Infinite scroll feeds, flash sales with countdown timers, and low stock alerts all manufacture this false sense of urgency. And paired with that urgency is their biggest weapon: one-click checkout. Companies like Amazon have done everything they can to remove any and all friction between wanting something and getting it, making the reward feel instant. It is meant to suck you in, move you quickly without thinking, and many of us probably know by now that it's no accident at all. Companies have spent millions of dollars perfecting the scheme to keep getting you to come back for more. Now, historically, our brains have gotten what's called earned dopamine from accomplishing tasks that require real effort, which I'm sure we've all felt. But that is rapidly changing in this information age. And we're now hit with a constant fire hose of dopamine from online shopping, social media, and on-demand everything, all available with almost zero effort. We want it now, and very little stands in our way to get it. We're getting to the point where we're training our brains to absolutely detest any amount of friction or waiting or effort at all. So how do we fight back? I think a lot of people can use the existence of these systems, the algorithms, the brain's chemistry as an excuse to say, well, we're really powerless against it and no one can fault me for overspending. This is really Jeff Bezos's fault, really. And while I do agree and have felt some of that myself, but I do agree that you can't just rely on willpower, and being aware of the addictive nature of a lot of consumer spending is helpful. But the only one paying attention to your future and your well-being, other than a qualified advisor, if you have one, is you. I have to remind clients all the time that when you put off wise financial decisions, or when you make excuses about how much you're not saving, you're making those excuses to your older self. So if the system is built to exploit a neurological loop, the solution isn't to suppress the wanting or white knuckle it into some different outcome. It's to interrupt the loop and find a better reward. Sheer willpower will only get you so far, but there are 3 practical things you can actually do and change in your spending habits to meet your long-term goals. Step 1 is introducing friction. The modern world is built on removing friction, so your job is to put it back. The easiest way to do this is a waiting rule. Some people say 72 hours, others say an entire month. For me, I found a week is a good time frame, but the point is to make yourself delay. So the next time you feel that urge to make a non-essential purchase over a certain amount of money, say $50, don't buy it. Instead, add it to your cart, write it on a list, take a screenshot, then walk away for a week. 7 days. The simple delay is incredible. It gives the dopamine of anticipation time to fade. It lets the rational part of our brain, the part that knows our real goals, catch up with the emotional part. And after a week, you'll often find that the intense need has vanished. You didn't really want it. You just wanted the feeling that it promised. And if you still want it after a week, you can make a conscious decision about it based on whether you actually have the money for it and if it helps you meet your goals. So you're no longer relying on impulse. Step 2 is dopamine redirection. Breaking a habit is really hard, but it gets easier when you think about it not as breaking it, but replacing it. This step is about redirecting that dopamine hit from spending to saving. It's a powerful psychological shift, and this is how you do it. Every time you use that 1-week rule and decide not to buy something, immediately transfer the money you would have spent into a dedicated saving or investment account. Give this account a name that actually excites you, like Freedom Fund or Early Retirement. Now, the type of account you put it in is very dependent on your specific goals and situations, but the act of redirecting daily habits from automatic spending to thoughtful savings creates a new reward loop, not just for your brain, but also for future you. You get a small, satisfying dopamine hit, not from buying more stuff, but from watching your savings grow. You're actively rewarding your brain for a good financial decision. And step 3 is a dopamine fast, a spending fast. And depending on how much you just instinctively tensed up and mentally revolted at that idea, that's probably a good indication of how helpful it could be for you. Our brains have gotten used to a really high level of regular stimulation. Just like with a sugar detox, you can help reset your brain's reward system with a short spending fast. People have called it a no spend challenge. This could be a day, a weekend, a full week where you commit to zero non-essential spending. Now, this doesn't mean you can't eat. It just means no ordering in, no online shopping, no random coffees or snacks out. Plan ahead, use what you have, and find free ways to entertain yourself. Go for a walk. Read that book that has been sitting on your nightstand. Call a friend you haven't talked to in a while. The point of this is to show your brain it can survive, even thrive, without constant hits of dopamine from spending. It lowers your stimulation baseline so that smaller, simpler pleasures feel more rewarding again. And it helps break the dependency on spending as your main source of joy and proves just how often that impulse to buy really strikes. Now, let's take it that one step deeper into what is, in my opinion, the entire point of all of this in our lives. Because while neuroscience can explain how this is happening, and there are practical steps anyone can take to combat some of the most challenging parts, it doesn't fully answer why money and spending have such a hold on us. And scripture actually speaks to this at a much deeper level. Because what we've been calling a dopamine loop, the Bible puts a much finer point on. What does your soul desire? In the book of James, it says that each person is tempted when they are lured and enticed by their own desire, not by the product itself, not by the ad, but by something already at work inside all of us. In other words, the problem isn't just out there, and it's not fundamentally a corporation's fault, although there is absolutely some culpability among the decisions by these corporations and their desires to place profit and stock price above people at all costs. But I think that's a conversation for another day, because the problem inherently is in our hearts. These systems, ads, algorithms, smartphones, social media, one-click checkout, they're not creating something new in you or in me. They're amplifying something that's already there. A tendency and a temptation to look for satisfaction in things that were never meant to satisfy. Trying to find fulfillment in creation instead of our creator. The reason I'm excited by an ad for a new outfit isn't because I need more clothing. I have a closet full that will tell you that's not true. It's because there's something about what I put on my back and how I present myself to the world that entices me. If we really dig into what our brains and hearts are telling us, it's not simply, oh, that dress is really cute. It's, oh, I would feel good in that dress. Translation, this purchase can give me approval. It can give me comfort. It can manufacture social capital. Because at its core, this isn't just about spending money. It's about how your spending habits and money decisions reflect what it is that you actually believe. I think one of the most powerful ways we can display the truth of the gospel is through what we choose to spend or not spend money on. Psalm 19 tells us that the law, testimony, and commands of the Lord are more to be desired than gold, and sweeter than honey and the drippings of the honeycomb. Does our spending actually reflect that? We make claims that the promises of the world are fleeting, that earthly pleasures cannot satisfy, that there is abundance of joy to be found in Jesus that no earthly treasure could possibly ever compare to. Is that what we're actually showing the world? Or are we giving lip service to it as an idea while functionally treating and viewing money and spending and financial decisions just like anybody else? You cannot love both God and money. You will end up loving one and hating the other. Do you believe that? Does your bank account reflect that? Now, does this mean you're inherently sinful or wrong for shopping on Amazon or buying new outfits or having discretionary spending? Of course not. The only thing I am suggesting is that anyone who claims Jesus as their Lord should be taking a critical eye to our ongoing money habits and choices and motivations to see what it is our hearts truly desire and truly value. Are you following Jesus's very explicit command to give generously to those in need? Or are you hoarding wealth and looking to your investment accounts or your net worth for security? Again, there is nothing inherently wrong with those things. And investing can be a very wise stewardship of our money. But are you looking to it as your savior? Are you spending less than you make as an outworking of trusting God's provision in your life? Or are you burying yourself in credit card debt to keep up with some version of life that you think will make you happy? If so, let me ask you this. Is it working? Do you feel secure? Have you found lasting happiness? Or are you forever stuck in a loop of just a little more? Once I get to XYZ, once I make this much money, once I have this house, once I have this car, then I'll be happy. Then I can give. When you're honest with yourself, is your spending reflecting what you believe about the gospel? Or is it reflecting what you believe about what money can do for you and your comfort and your very fleeting life here on earth? In his presence, there is fullness of joy. At his right hand are pleasures forevermore. How can you take steps to make your spending habits reflect that? If you like this discussion, I'd love to hear how you've seen this play out in your own life. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of this conversation, and I will see you next time.